Welcome to another edition of Fireside Financials. It's one of the goofier intros I've ever done, but we're going to roll with it. And today what we're going to be talking about is how to establish daily, weekly, and monthly habits for yourself around managing your finances. Why is this helpful? Well, because managing your money can be really challenging. You're dealing with your checking account, a savings account, probably a credit card, trying to save towards goals, trying to not put more money on the credit card than you can pay off in your from your checking account. And so, oh, there's a dog right there. She's joining me for today. Everyone say hi to Luca. And so because of the complexity, it's really important to set these daily habits or weekly habits or monthly habits in order to help support you making progress towards your goals in the way that you want. So let's dive in with daily, then we'll move on to weekly and monthly for you. So the reason why daily habits are important is because they serve as the foundational structure for things that you can do on a consistent daily basis, start to remember pretty easily. That will lay the foundation, as I said, for being able to have long-term success. So what this usually looks like is one of two ways. If you're in the nitty-gritty with budgeting and you're categorizing every transaction, what you'll want to do is just go in and categorize your transactions on a daily-ish basis. If you miss a day or two, is it going to be the end of the world? Absolutely not. If you start missing 7 days at a time, then it becomes a problem. Now, the purpose it serves is actually twofold because A, it keeps you, A apparently is shown with number one, A is you don't fall behind with the categorization process. You know, if you don't do it for 7 days, you can forget what you spent money on 7 days ago. And number two, it keeps you aware of how much money you have been spending over the past couple of days and just serves as giving you a mental benchmark for, oh, that's what I've been spending money on. I've gone out to eat at least once every one of the last 3 days. Maybe that's something that I should be checking when I have my next weekly check-in. And the other way to do it is if you aren't categorizing every transaction, but you're just spending out of a particular bank account for your variable spending, and you can go and watch the banking structure, Fireside Financials, if you want to learn more about how to set up an intentional banking structure for yourself. You would just look at your account balance in that particular checking account where you're spending out of, so that you know kind of where you stand on your spending every couple of days. That's it for the daily. And again, we'll say daily-ish, just so you don't get really hard on yourself. From a weekly perspective, there are three things to do. First, you would look at what your spending has been for the past 7 days or up through the time that you are in that month. So for example, if you're in the second week of the month, you would look at your spending for the first 2 weeks in your top 3 or 4 challenging categories. For most of my clients, this is dining out, groceries, entertainment, sometimes weed, those types of things. So you just want to see how you're tracking for the month. And, you know, if you set a $400 goal for groceries, let's say, and at 2 weeks in and you've already spent $300, that would give you a helpful reference point to whether you should pull back or not or make some adjustments. Second is to have a weekly money meeting with yourself, checking in on those things. If it's just you, right, make sure that you put a reminder in your calendar or in your phone. If you have a partner, then make sure that you coordinate with your schedules so that you can find a time that works for you both. Now with my clients, I have a weekly meeting agenda that I send to them, but you could come up with it for yourself. If you have a partner, make sure that the agenda items on there and what you cover on a consistent basis works for you both. And if it's just you, then come up with something that works for you. And lastly, review any notes that you had for after your last money meeting. So for example, if you're meeting the second week of the month, then you would want to just look at, okay, was there anything that I did the previous week that I want to make sure that I cover, that I don't miss? And so keeping running notes is really helpful to make sure that you complete all the to-dos that you have coming out of your weekly sessions. Lastly, are your monthly to-dos. Now, the most important thing when it comes to monthly is reviewing the past month and just seeing how you're tracking. Now, that kind of comes in two forms. So the first one is looking at what your budget or your plan was for that month, and then looking at the actuals. So you can do that on a single monthly basis, but what's also helpful is looking at it over a 3-month basis. So saying, okay, what did I spend this month? What was my plan this month? And how am I tracking with my spending over the past 3 months? Just to get a sense of what the trends have been so that you don't get too focused in on just month to month to month while losing the trailing like 3 months and the importance of how you're tracking over that period of time. Now, what I would also do is create a spending plan for the following month, right? So after you review what happened last month, create a plan for the future month. This allows you to stay on top of any changes that may have happened in your budget, so that if you're coming close to the holidays or there's a particular event that came up that you want to make sure that you plan for, that you can put that in your budget and in your plan. And lastly, on a monthly basis, once you've gotten to the end of the month, if there's money left over in any particular accounts that you didn't spend, review that and move that money towards goals that matter to you. Hopefully you'll have taken the time to prioritize your goals, because not all goals are created equal. And then with that extra money that you have left over, you can allocate it based on the priority or prioritization of your particular goals. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments below. And thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Fireside Financials.